All right, so have you ever noticed how some products just explode in popularity,
Yeah.
while others that seem just as good completely flop?
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's like a mystery sometimes.
Totally.
Well,
Well, we're going to try to crack that code today by taking a deep dive into Crossing the Chasm.
a classic.
Yeah, it's basically considered a Bible for tech startups.
Right. And it's super relevant for pretty much anyone who's trying to launch an idea or get their work out there.
So, Jeffrey Moore, who wrote this book,
Yeah.
he basically figured out why so many companies with great products
Mm-hmm.
trip and fall right when they're on the verge of like huge success.
Exactly. It's like they hit this invisible wall.
And the crazy thing is, he says the biggest mistake these companies make
Yeah.
is trying to be everything to everyone.
Right. It seems counterintuitive, but trying to please everybody actually ends up pleasing nobody.
It's like you water down your message so much that it loses its impact.
Exactly. You can't be all things to all people.
So how do you avoid that trap?
Well, Moore says the key is finding your niche. It's about identifying a specific group of people within that larger market who are hungry for what you offer.
So instead of trying to appeal to the masses, you focus on a smaller group who really get it.
Exactly. And here's where it gets interesting. Moore breaks down the market into these different categories of adopters.
Okay?
So you've got your innovators.
Right, the early birds.
Exactly. They're the ones who are always the first in line for the new gadget or whatever it is.
Yeah, they love being on the bleeding edge.
Exactly. But then you've got your early adopters who are a little more cautious,
Okay.
but they're still excited by new tech and new ideas.
So these are the folks who are really driving the initial buzz.
Yeah, they're the ones spreading the word, getting people excited.
But even if you win over those early groups, it doesn't mean you've made it right.
Right.
There's still this gap, this chasm to cross.
Exactly. That's where the early majority comes in.
Okay, the more like practical folks.
Yeah, they're the ones who make up the bulk of the market.
They're not as adventurous as those early adopters.
Right. They want to see proof that something works before they invest their time or their money.
They need to know it's reliable and that it's going to fit seamlessly into their lives.
Exactly. And that's the chasm, the gap between those early adopters and the early majority.
It's where so many companies stumble.
It really is. They haven't figured out how to appeal to those more cautious buyers.
So their product might be amazing for the techies,
Yeah,
but it's not resonating with the average person.
right.
So how do you bridge that gap?
That's where the whole product concept comes in.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What is the whole product?
Well, it's more than just a great product itself. It's the entire experience surrounding it.
All right, I'm really curious to unpack that more.
Yeah, definitely.
What does a whole product actually look like in the real world?
Well, let's talk about that after a quick break.
Sounds good. So what does this whole product thing actually look like? I mean, is it like a physical thing?
Not necessarily. It's more about the entire experience you create around the product itself.
Okay, so give me some specifics.
Think of it like this. It's the ease of use, the customer support, the community, even the perception of the brand. It's all those elements that come together to make a complete package.
So it's not just about the features and functions. It's about how it makes you feel, how it fits into your life.
Exactly. And for that early majority, remember, they're not as forgiving as those early
Right.
adopters.
They're not going to put up with a lot of hassle.
Exactly. They want things to work seamlessly and they want to feel confident that they're making a smart choice.
So you need to create that sense of trust and reliability.
Right. And that's where this whole product concept comes in. It's about addressing all those concerns and exceeding their expectations.
Okay, so can you give me a real world example of this whole product thing in action?
Absolutely. Let's go back to the iPod for a second.
Okay.
It wasn't just a cool gadget, right? It was a whole ecosystem.
Yeah, you had iTunes, the sleek design, those iconic white earbuds.
Exactly. Apple understood that music lovers wanted more than just a way to play MP3s.
Right. It was about the style, the ease of use, the whole experience.
Exactly. They created a whole product that catered perfectly to the desires of their target market.
So by focusing on the needs of that specific niche and building that whole product around them, Apple was able to bridge the chasm and make the iPod a mainstream hit.
Precisely. And what's interesting is that Apple initially targeted a very specific segment of music lovers.
Okay.
Those who were comfortable with technology but also valued style and ease of use. They didn't try to win over the entire market all at once.
They found their beachhead and then expanded outward.
Exactly. They established themselves within that niche and then let that momentum carry them forward.
This is making a lot of sense now, but let's get practical. How can someone actually apply these insights? Like, what are the actionable steps?
Well, the first step is to really understand your target niche.
Okay.
You got to know who they are, what are their needs, their pain points, their aspirations, what makes them tick.
So it sounds like a lot of research up front.
It is, but it's crucial. You need to have a crystal clear understanding of who you're trying to reach and why they should care about what you have to offer.
So don't just assume, your audience, really dig deep and get to know them.
Right, and remember, the more narrowly you define your niche at first, the better.
Oh, that's interesting. So you're saying it's actually better to start small and focused rather than trying to be everything to everyone right out of the gate.
Absolutely. It's like launching a rocket. You need that concentrated burst of energy to break free of Earth's gravity.
You can't just float around aimlessly in space hoping to attract everyone's attention.
Exactly. You need to target your launch and then build momentum from there.
It's about finding that launch pad and then igniting the engines. Yeah.
Exactly. You got to capture the hearts and minds of those early adopters within your niche.
Because they're the ones who will spread the word, right?
Yeah, they become your evangelists. They help you build that bridge to the wider market.
It's like a grassroots movement that starts small and then suddenly it's everywhere.
It is very similar. You tap into something powerful that resonates with a specific group, and then that energy just takes off.
So you're saying it's about creating a sense of belonging, of being part of something special.
Exactly. And it all starts with understanding the unique needs and desires of that niche.
Okay, so let's say you've done your research, you've identified your niche, you've crafted that whole product experience.
Yeah.
What's next? How do you actually get their attention?
That's where your positioning comes in.
Okay.
You need to communicate the value of your product or your idea in a way that really resonates with your target audience.
So it's not just about listing features, it's about telling a story that connects with them on an emotional level.
Exactly. You need to paint a picture of how your product will improve their lives, solve their problems, help them achieve their goals.
It's about tapping into their aspirations
Mm-hmm.
and showing how you're the key to fulfilling them.
Right. And once you've nailed your positioning, you got to make sure you're reaching them through the right channels.
Okay, so meet them where they are.
Exactly. Where do they hang out? What do they read? What do they listen to?
You got to speak their language and be present in the spaces they trust.
Right. It's all about building that relationship and establishing credibility because the early majority, they want to see social proof.
They want to know that other people have tried it and love it.
Exactly. That's how you build that bridge of trust that helps them cross the chasm.
This has been so insightful. It's like a whole new way of looking at how ideas and products become successful.
I'm glad you found it helpful.
I think our listeners are probably buzzing with ideas right now, ready to put all this into action.
I hope so, because crossing the chasm isn't just a theory, it's a roadmap.
It's a guide to navigating the world of innovation.
Exactly.
And for those who want to dive even deeper, I highly recommend checking out Jeffrey Moore's book, Crossing the Chasm.
Yeah, it's full of real-world examples and actionable strategies.
So whether you're launching a tech startup, writing a book, or starting a movement, these principles can help you achieve real success.
It's all about understanding your audience, crafting a compelling message, and building those relationships that lead to lasting impact.
Well said. Thanks for joining me for this deep dive into Crossing the Chasm.
It was my pleasure. Thanks for having me.